Hello and welcome to third semester. I hope everyone is doing well. This is Dr. Brian Hayes. I'm going to take a few minutes to talk to you about the mentoring requirements in your third semester. And this is one of the more exciting pieces that we do within the mentoring program is your introduction to the AAMC's careers in medicine. And so before I get into that, I want to walk through a little bit of kind of the requirements moving in just to keep you aware of our evaluation process. And so as you're aware, you're evaluated for your participation in the program with your mentor, by your mentor. And that evaluation is part of that MSPE, that Medical Student Performance Evaluation. And this kind of shows you what goes into that document. And so if you fully participate, you'll have the outstanding verb in there. And then if you don't participate all that well, you go all the way down to qualified. And these are verbs that the readers know very well, and they're defined. And so when they read that, they kind of know. And what I typically tell students as a reminder is that, are you going to land a residency just because you participated in this program? Well, likely not. They're going to read that line, and that will be the expectation, right? It's their expectation that if you were given an opportunity to better yourself as a medical professional, that you took advantage of it, right? And so, but the flip side of that is if they see that you had this opportunity and did not take advantage of it, that might cause them to question your dedication to the profession and just medicine in general. And so I would strongly encourage, as always, to fully participate and do what you're required, and so that to make sure that rating is as high as it can possibly be within the program. And that's really all we're asking, is to be a part of it and meet with your mentor as required and do what's required coming into it. And so just as a reminder to that. Going into third, same mentor as always. Your individual meeting, it's up to you to schedule that before week 12. You're not going to get any other reminders, and so please put that on your calendar to make sure you do. You reach out to your mentor, and between the two of you, schedule that at a time that's convenient for you both. And of course, as always, going into, remember in first semester, you were required to send in that strengths and opportunities report. But going into second, it became between you and your mentor how you wanted to handle that. And so you might check back in with your mentor just to ask, is that something that they want you to do again? Is to send that in, or are they comfortable with you reporting in kind of otherwise? Then, of course, this semester, the main thing is that AAMC's careers in medicine. And you'll see all of that in Canvas, and when you log into Canvas, you'll see the mentoring program on that main page. Click that, and that gives you the more details of what your requirements are for this semester if you do happen to forget and don't want to come back to this presentation. So without further ado, I want to walk through careers in medicine a little bit just so you're familiar prior to logging in. I will say I'm showing a few screenshots in here, and I think they've redone the website since I put this together a little bit. And so if you notice some things are a little off, just look around for them. I don't think they're too hard to find. But what is careers in medicine? The nuts and the basics of this is it's a career planning program that helps you identify your career goals, explore specialties, and at the end of the day, just make good decisions when you're moving into that specialty, right? What we're going to be focusing on in the medical sciences here in the first chapter of your medical career is that understanding yourself and exploring the options, right? We want to make sure you know what's out there and compare that against kind of your capability and your ability to match in certain programs. And as you later on move into the clinical years, you'll be matched with an OSPD advisor from the Office of Student Professional Development, and they're going to help you kind of move to that next stage of choosing the special and, of course, landing the residency, which is the ultimate goal. Again, this is just a different graphic to show that same type of thing of what we're going to be focusing on here in year one and year two. So you're going to go, what you're going to do, you're going to receive within the first week of classes or right before, you're going to receive an email from the AAMC Careers in Medicine with login information. Most of you or everyone should already have a membership and login information for AAMC, which is where you uploaded and did your MCAT information through. And so this is just kind of an add-on to that membership already. So you'll log in, and then with the email you receive, that gives you access to the Careers in Medicine website. Under that, the first place we want you to go is this Find Your Fit module. And when you go in there, there's going to be two things that we're going to ask you to do. The first one is the Medical Specialty Preference Inventory, or MSPI for short. And what this does, it helps to measure your interest in various activities, tasks, and experiences. And you're going to go through about 150 questions and look at it, and it's going to help you look at about 16 different specialties as far as your compatibility into those, right? And the report you're going to get is going to look something like this. And so for this person who took it, emergency medicine was the top with a slightly less for family, and then peds right below it, and then they all kind of drop off from there, right? And what I always say to students going into this is, this isn't an end-all be-all, right? This is exactly where you need to be. It's just one more indicator, right? For many students, it's just a reconfirmation of what you're thinking anyway, right? For others, it might be you're looking at something new that might pique your interest. So as you do move into your clinical rotations, it might be something to pay a little bit more attention to think, I matched into this, in an inventory I did. Let's check it out a little bit more. So anyway, it's more of just a tool to help you, one more tool to help you figure out what you want to do. Because we want to make sure when you do make these decisions that you feel very confident and comfortable knowing that you want to do that for the rest of your career. The second one is this physician values and practice scale. And what this does, it looks at different values, right, like autonomy, management, prestige, lifestyle, scholarly pursuits, and ranks them, and to help you, again, look at when you're thinking about your specialty, what things are important to you within that specialty. And so, for this person, it looks like that management is higher, so being in a specialty where they can perform managerial tasks, lifestyle also important, prestige, and prestige a little bit lower. And essentially, I think prestige for me is one that sticks out, because prestige is different to all people, right? Prestige for one might be the hotshot plastic surgeon in a big city, driving a convertible around. But for another, it might be the small town family doctor where you're the doctor of the town and everybody knows your name, right? And so that's just one of those that it's always different for different people. And so when you look at these results, again, it's one more indication, one more tool as you're thinking about what you want to do with your MD degree. The next thing, and I think the more long-term piece to this as you're going through this, is medical specialties. And when you click that, you're going to go in and almost be overwhelmed by the number of specialties and subspecialties you can click and find out information about here. And we encourage you to look through this in almost jokingly say your spare time, but in times when you're looking for a little procrastination, but just kind of play around in here. It's got a wealth of information to just click through and look at. And I'll do an example. We'll look at anesthesiology just as an example. If you were to click there and go into it, and this is very similar for many of these. Some have more information than others because there's more. It's more of a highly demanded field and there's more data for it. But they all pretty much have the same thing. So this first one, you go in and you've got your overview that talks you through the money, the step scores, average work per week, specialty news, etc. But then as you go along the tabs, it gives you a little bit more information to talk about and goes into depth. So for this one, the work, talking about, what the setting, the patient profile, who you typically see, the typical type of patient you see. You move over into salary. It talks about, when you first get into it, later on in the profession, and even on the clinical side, even the academic side, if you're looking at possibly teaching somewhere. Afterwards, it looks at what those salaries look like in that case. The next one is your training and residency tracks. So, away electives as well as recommended research electives. And so if you're going to do it, or research experience, sorry. And so it talks about, what are those programs looking for? And the typical person who goes in, what did they have, right? The electives away, it doesn't apply a whole lot to us because your electives are kind of away anyway, of course, but you can choose to do those at your clinical core site or other places. But you'll talk about that a lot more in depth later. And then the competitiveness, right? This is to me I think at this point in the stage of your decision making, this is one of the more important pieces. If you remember back in second semester, you looked at how your average, your GPA influenced your comp score and how that influenced your step score, et cetera, et cetera. And so that's kind of why we introduced this now. That's the why behind why we're talking about this early in your medical career. Because we know coming into this semester, you earned the first points towards your GPA, right? Even after first semester, you kind of knew where you stood just because that score you could easily translate into a GPA, even though there was not a letter grade connected to it. But coming into third, you now do have a GPA. And looking at the graph from second semester, you can kind of look, here's this GPA, and if you're looking for a certain step score, that kind of where you land on that, right? The higher the GPA, likely the higher step score you're going to have, statistically anyway, right? And so what this slide does, it talks about, for those that matched and didn't match, what were their step scores? And so for anesthesiology, it's got about 226 for those average that matched, and a 203 average that didn't match. And so as you go into this, and what this is to kind of help you, for motivation, as if you needed more motivation, but as you kind of go through your classes to know, hey, I'm looking to go into this very selective specialty, so my grades need to be pretty top-notch because I need to make sure when I go into that step exam, I'm as prepared as possible to have the best score possible for that, right? Not that you wouldn't do that anyway, because you want the best score regardless of what profession or what specialty you're going to go into. And on these, a lot of times you'll see the USMLE scores for USMD seniors as well as independent applicants. And the independent is kind of where we fall, so you can kind of see that comparison between the two from US students and international students. And then the bottom, charting outcomes to the match, and you've got some different resources there. The workforce talks about the different jobs that are available, and then additional resources just about the profession in general. And this is a really good place to look at if there's other national conferences or different organizations that you might want to become a part of to network as you go through. Another piece of it is you look on here and you can compare different specialties and put them side by side. And so that's just another neat resource. And then, of course, on this last one, this land your residency, this is what you'll do going past here. And when you move into the clinic, your clinical advisors and your OSPD advisors, when you move into the clinical semesters, all of them you will meet when you get to IMF, which is exciting. So you get to face-to-face meeting, but they're available. They're just a phone call away at any point in your clinical years, and will be with you to help you with that match process, that match application, and just applying smart once you have those scores in hand. And that is the full piece of information for this. Like I said, you can find all of this on Canvas. I recommend you go there, look at this, and just, when you first get the subscription, go on, log on, and start getting familiar with the website. You'll have a year subscription to this now, and then you'll be able to get a renewal of the subscription when you get to IMF, because we know it's important now just for you to get familiar, and then later on when you are in the middle of that residency match process. So good luck with everything. Let us know in Student Affairs if you need anything between now and then, and we'll see you soon.